Let's bring in Charisse Jones from USA Today. She covers travel and business trends. Good to have you here.
Thank you.
All right, so let's take this from the very beginning. My question, the question that I've had all day long is, it's been reported the flight was overbooked or oversold. I don't know all the airline terminology. But that this crew, there was a 4-person crew that had to get to Louisville.
Exactly.
And that is why they decided to, at random, pull 4 passengers from the flight. Is that really the definition of an oversold flight or an overbooked flight?
You know, that's the question that a lot of people are asking. I mean, was this really an oversold flight, or was it just at capacity and they had to get this crew to Louisville for another flight? And if that's the case, I think it gets a little wiggly in terms of, you know, how this passenger was treated. Couldn't they have put this crew on a different flight and avoided all of this hostility and all of this bad publicity? So that's a question that some people are actually asking right now.
And clearly the idea of getting on the plane and being seated and then being told that you have to get off the plane, the airlines do have the reserve the right to be able to do that. But what's the normal protocol in a situation like this?
Normally they would ask for volunteers, and if they don't get them, they can bump you, but it happens before you're actually on the plane. So to have the guy actually sitting in his seat, ready for takeoff, and then to pull him off is just something that you don't normally see, and really made the incident go to a different level that really shocked a lot of aviation watchers as well as passengers.
And I think a lot of people are angry about this around the world. This is resonating with people, not just here in the United States, but everywhere.
Yes.
Because for so many years, I think passengers understand that flights are cheaper than they've ever been before.
Right.
But it seems that there's an inverse reaction, or that the staff of these airlines have gotten ruder, angrier, more aggressive. And we understand, I think all passengers understand they have a job to do. They're there for our safety. But whatever happened to safety with a smile?
You know, I think that the airlines have been really trapped in this cycle of cutting back on a lot of services. I mean, they're trying to give back more free meals and doing some of those things, but people feel they have to pay for everything. They have to pay to take their luggage on a trip. Who's not going to take their bag on a trip? You know, that seems a little bit silly. And then I think that you have aviation workers who might feel overworked, might feel pressured, and so they don't feel quite as friendly, or they don't seem quite as friendly. And then you see something like this happening a few weeks after 2 young ladies had on leggings, and they had to change before they could fly, and it just makes the friendly skies seem very unfriendly.
It's a good point that you raise, and those 2 young ladies apparently were flying on a buddy pass, which means that the airline says, look, there are certain standards, and this goes to the response from the airlines in regards to this case, which seemed to be tone deaf to a lot of people, which has just made it worse. Now, I should point out that just today we received this. This is from Oscar Munoz. He's the CEO of United Airlines, and I want to quote in part what he wrote here. The truly horrific event that occurred on this flight has elicited many responses from all of us: outrage, anger, disappointment. I share all of these sentiments, and one above all, my deepest apologies for what happened. Like you, I continue to be disturbed by what happened on this flight, and I deeply apologize to the customer forcibly removed and to all the customers aboard. No one should ever be mistreated this way. Why did it take so long for him to say this?
Well, that's what I was going to say. He should have done that from the very beginning. I mean, his response seems so tone deaf. You know, talking about reaccommodating. When somebody got pulled down the aisle with a bloody face. Saying that the crew behaved the way they should have, that he was emotional and disruptive. I mean, he was on the plane going
blaming
home.
the passenger, victim blaming.
Blaming the passenger. So that's the right response in the right direction. But there's already been so much damage. The value of the airline went down almost $1 billion because the share price dropped earlier today. Tens of thousands of people are signing petitions to boycott the airline. So they've got a lot more damage control to do. And
look, to be fair, these bumps or the overselling of a flight doesn't happen often, right? I mean, it's not in percentage numbers. It's not very common that you get to a situation like this where there is no alternative. You have to get off the flight. Right.
Out of millions of passengers a year, it's about 50,000 a year between 2008 and 2013. So it's relatively uncommon. It's always inconvenient when it happens, but they're supposed to compensate you, help you find another flight. So there's so many other ways that you can do this. Just up the compensation. I mean, offer $2,000 or $4,000. You'll get some volunteers.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I would have taken the 800 or whatever it is that we're offering, but I understand if you have to be, according to many on the flight there, the doctor claimed that he had to be the patients to see the next day, so he had to be there. Well, all right, can we see any change in the horizon? Will there be airlines that say, look, we have to take this kind of thing seriously. We have to react in the way that we're seeing now from the CEO of United reacting a couple of days after the incident, and perhaps making customers feel a little bit more valued.
You know, JetBlue doesn't really overbook, and so I think that there are airlines that can get better with that process. And certainly if you have this situation, we know that there's a better way to handle it. You know, do it before they get on board, up the compensation, give an apology if something goes wrong. So I hope that they're going to take some lessons from this because they're paying a very high price.
Absolutely. Charisse Jones, always good to have you. Thank you.
Thank you.